Welcome friends to another r/maliciouscompliance video. Our first story of the day is by Hannah. Sweep the side alley until it's spotless? You got it, boss. A couple of summers ago, I took a part-time job as a server at a local pub/restaurant. I had a full-time job, so this was just for experience and to pick up some tip money on the side. The pub had been closed for a few years after the old owner couldn't afford it anymore, so when the new owners picked it up and got it ready for opening again, the town was excited. It's a bit of a town landmark, right in the middle of our main street. I applied as soon as I found out and ended up getting hired. I was one of the younger servers alongside a few older ones. Most of us were women, and the older servers really looked out for us inexperienced ones. Overall, the others on the team were really nice, save for a couple of nasty ones. My new boss, Gary, was, well, not as great. Gary's favorite saying was, "If you have time to lean, you have time to clean." He thought if we took even a second to catch our breaths, he was losing money from us slacking off. On slow days, he would find menial, pointless tasks for us to complete. Wipe the bar counter even though it's been wiped 3 times in the past half hour already. Reorganize the menus even though they're already perfectly organized. Fill up more condiment cups even though there's already 50 salsa cups ready to go, stuff like that. The most tedious task, especially in the early months of the summer, was sweeping the side alley that leads to the patio. There were these massive maple trees along the path, and they would drop leaves and seeds like crazy, especially on windy days. One afternoon in early June, there was only a handful of us working. It gets slow, and I get assigned the sweeping task. I sweep up the back alleyway as much as I can, but the wind is blowing and the trees just keep dumping more and more seeds onto the path. I do my best until the coworker calls me back inside to help serve tables. She didn't want me missing out on tips, bless her. I see the table, get their orders, and start entering them in. Just then, Gary storms up to me. "What are you doing?" I say, entering table 15's order. "Why?" "The side alley is a mess. I don't pay you to slack off." I say I swept up as much as I could before this table walked in. It's a really windy day. That's why it keeps getting full of leaves and seeds. You're more than welcome to check the compost bin for how much I actually did sweep up. "No, we don't finish things halfway here. You're going back out there and finishing your job. I want it to be spotless. Linda can take table 15. Gary then switched table 15 from my account to Linda, an older server's account. Linda and I got along great. She worked as both a server and a bartender and used to be a general manager with another restaurant chain. She decided to join this team after her retirement as a part-time hobby. She taught me a whole lot while I worked there, and I'm grateful to have met her. Linda says, "I'll hang on to your share of the tips. Best not to make Gary angry." I say, "He really wants me to make it spotless. Does he know how impossible that is? I'd have to be out there all shift." That's when Linda gave me a smile, and the light bulb turned on in my head. I still had 2 hours left in my shift, and it was going to be right into dinner rush. I grabbed the broom and dustpan and got to work. I would sweep as much as I could, but every so often another strong breeze would come by and hundreds more helicopter seeds would flutter to the ground. I kept going. At this point, it started to get busier. A lineup soon began to form out the door. Linda was taking care of tables, but very soon it became clear that the other servers needed someone else to deal with everyone. Linda let them know what was up, and most of them, who tolerated Gary at best and hated him at worst, understood. I kept on sweeping. Like Sisyphus and the boulder, the task was never ending. I scooped up pile after pile after pile of leaves and seeds to no avail. After 45 minutes or so, the side door opened suddenly to reveal a red-faced Gary. "Why aren't you in there serving customers?" I gesture at the alleyway. As if the gods themselves had heard the malicious compliance brewing, another strong breeze shook more seeds onto the partially cleared alley, right in front of Gary's face. The look on his face was priceless. He told me, in a quieter voice, to get back inside and start taking orders. I handed the broom off to him, and he began to sweep and sweep and sweep. The other servers and I had a good laugh about it inside, and I managed to make decent tips that night. Gary realized he couldn't exactly fire me for following his orders perfectly, and ended up being more relaxed about the side alley. No one really cares about some leaves and seeds on the ground, so long as they're not obstructing anyone. I ended up working there for the rest of the summer before quitting. I hear the pub had to be passed on to new owners after Gary's disorganization got the better of him. My next shift, I found a broken broom in the garbage. I'd like to think it was the work of Gary, red in the face and exhausted from battling against Mother Nature. You definitely kind of get like a silver spoon vibe from Gary, as if they have no idea how it actually is working in a place like this. Also, as somebody that personally doesn't enjoy sweeping at all, this story sounded a bit like torture to me. What about you guys? How do you feel about sweeping? Is it something you don't really mind? Is it soothing for you? Or is it something you dislike or outright hate like I do? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Rexington. Answer the phone even though we're not open yet? You got it. This is going to be short and brief. I work at a very popular pizza chain we'll call Pizza Stuff. Well, today, my manager told me that instead of not answering the phone due to us not being open, I now have to answer it and put their order in as a timed order, along with not telling them that it wouldn't be ready for pickup until 11. I guess he's after more sales, I don't know. Cue malicious compliance, and this morning, we happened to get a lot of calls. By the time it was about 10:45, I had 10 orders in. Along with that's when the first customer arrived. Well, see, the issue was that by company policy and rules, we cannot unlock the doors until 11, or when we're supposed to be open. We can send deliveries out early, yet we cannot open carryout early. Well, as you can imagine, the customer became pissed when I told them they have to wait until 11 before I can serve them due to policy. With the cherry on top being my manager heard the commotion and decided to forego the rule. Well, in walks his essential boss. He trains managers and employees mainly, in which he sees what he's doing and promptly gets in trouble as a result. After his boss talked to him for a bit, my manager pulled me aside and said we're no longer taking orders early, nor are we allowing customers to enter the store early. Aw, gee, boss, you're telling me that we're gonna have to go back to obeying store policy? That's a tough sell, but okay. Our next story is by Mike_Oxenfire. Dave the Idiot. I have a friend who I'll call Dave. I say friend, but we aren't that close, on account of how Dave is a bit of a tick and will embarrass you in public. He isn't a bad person, he's kind and will help people if they ask nicely, but he has no brain-to-mouth filter. His motto might as well be, hold my beer. He was telling me about his encounter with a wild Karen. It goes like this. Dave's out shopping for a couple of things, like bin bags and such, so he doesn't need a basket or shopping trolley. It's a nice day, so he's in a t-shirt and jeans. He found what he wanted and was headed for the checkout when he heard a harumphing Karen. Karen rudely asked, "Where's the milk?" Dave replied, "Sorry, I don't work here." The Karen said, "Yes, you do. I saw you helping another customer. Don't lie to me. You're not going on your break until you've helped me get everything on my list, 'cause I'm a valued customer." Or words to that effect. Dave goes, "Oh, so I do work here. Okay." It's important to note that on his way around the shop, he'd spotted a bottle of milk that had been left in the sandwich fridge, so he dutifully led her to the sandwich fridge and pointed to the lonely milk bottle. He continued acting as either the most obnoxious or most useless employee, walking to all the wrong places in the supermarket. She asked for small bags, meaning bin bags. He takes her to the section with tea bags. For about 8 or 9 minutes more before the Karen apparently cottoned onto, to cotton onto means to figure out what he was doing, and went to find an actual employee. Disappointingly, she never asked to speak to his manager, and he said he was hoping she would. "Show me where this item is." "Sorry, ma'am, I don't work here." "Yes, you do." "Ah, you got me. Okay, I'll take it of what you're looking for." I don't get why anybody would lie about being an employee or not. This next story is by Miss Stara0001. Yes, Drill Sergeant. This happened a long time ago when I was in the army. The malicious compliance was not mine, but rather I and my platoon were victims of it. We were all young kids ranging from 18 to around 22, fresh into the army basic combat training. Our unit was a permanent party unit. However, our drill instructors, save one, were all reservists, meaning that every 2 weeks we would get a couple of new drill instructors in. They were put up close to the barracks in some of the NCO housing and were allowed to bring their families should they choose. Next to the NCO housing was a restricted access pool available to the civilians. The pool had a fence around it, but it was a standard chain link type. About 4 weeks in, a new drill instructor shows up, which wasn't really surprising. However, he decided he was going to bring his significant other with him. Us being the young, hormone-filled kids, and the fact that this woman was drop-dead gorgeous and basically lived in a skimpy bikini in the pool, were having a difficult time of not being distracted. Our regular drill sergeant was very aware of this behavior and how it had been affecting our discipline. So he decided to do something about it by letting us have exactly what we wanted. The drill sergeant said, "Platoon, would you like a better look at the fine young woman at the swimming pool?" We say, "Yes, drill sergeant." Malicious compliance served. We were all marched over there as a squad, ordered to face the pool and take in as much of the sights as we could. All while doing push-ups. A lot of push-ups. The woman initially enjoyed her audience, though once the novelty of it wore off, I think she realized it was kind of a punishment for us. I don't think any of us were truly upset about it, but I for one had never done so many push-ups in my life at one time. It was definitely effective, as that kept our heads turned in the right direction afterwards. Honestly, even after doing all those push-ups, I'm surprised that it would still keep all the heads in the right direction. I feel like you'd still end up with some troublemakers with their heads turned, but what do I know, it was probably a lot of push-ups. And our final story of the day is by Weird Emu 223. Guy who brags about his education for an entire conversation ends up with foot in his mouth. Attended an online work conference recently, and everyone was from different companies. We had an informal Zoom together later to introduce ourselves and network around. In topic of conversations, college education comes up. For some context, colleges in my country are divided into different tiers of importance. A group of national colleges, let's say Tier 1, are considered prestigious to get into, with low acceptance rates, and the entrance criteria is just a really hard exam. Culture here is that kids study almost 4 to 5 years of their high school life, shunning extracurriculars and almost everything else to get into top-tier colleges. It's considered an honor if your kid goes to a Tier 1 college because some of them are so smart, they keep Ivy Leagues as their safety schools. There's also Tier 2 and 3 colleges, which are great too. It's what people choose when they don't get into any Tier 1 colleges. Then there are local or regional colleges which don't have any branding associated, which is where most graduates in the country are from since nationally ranked colleges are crazy competitive. So in this conversation, this butthead starts bragging about being from a Tier 2 college, and how he represents the best and how smart he is because entrance exams in my country don't consider anything but your brain power. Other people are nodding along and just humoring him because they're uncomfortable as freak. He's essentially putting them down in a passive-aggressive manner, belittling their second-rate local college education. Some of us countered that entrance exams don't mold you to be a successful person always because a lot of grads from these colleges don't have people skills or extracurriculars due to spending their entire childhood studying. And that you can succeed even if you're not from a national college if you're truly smart. Dude gets mad at us for questioning him and says since none of us belong to his brand, we don't even know what we're talking about and we're just jealous of his premier education and are trying to justify it to ourselves. He senses everyone turning against him and says, If you knew the quality of my degree, you'd get it. If you want, I can even help you guys with improving your personal brand so that you can also try and succeed. You know, as if everyone at the conference wasn't already in the same industry, in almost the same positions and our great jobs. Cue my petty malicious compliance. I'm from a Tier 1 college, and while I don't generally broadcast my credentials, I'd been waiting all conversation to use it against him. I go, I think you could help me better with your knowledge. I'm from a Tier 1 university, and I'd really like to improve my brand concerning this. What do you think I should do to get a better job now? Dude's face turned red, and he confirmed my college like 4 times after that in disbelief, because I didn't fit his image of what a Tier 1 grad should be like, since I have good interpersonal skills and a lot of hobbies, and then shut up in embarrassment and turned his video off. Nobody likes a big bragger or a show-off, but everybody does like when a big bragger or show-off gets exposed or outdone. I appreciate people like OP that have prestigious level achievements and are still humble about it. People that don't have to go around being all braggadocious. Unless, of course, you need to put somebody in their place. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So, until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.